Christine, at maraming salamat po sa ating mga kaibigan mula sa Department of Tourism, ang ating mga representatives from the media, at talagang kinalulugod po namin ang inyong pagdalo sa aming focus group discussion launch for today. So, marami po kaming nabisitang mga probinsya sa Samal, sa Island Garden of sa Samal, sa Siargao, sa Cebu at sa Puerto Galera, at talaga namang makikita natin na marami tayong makikita muling mga datos tungkol sa ating mga problema ukol sa brownout. Actually, sa Baguio ngayon ay buong araw silang naka-brownout dahil sa NGCP. And that's going to be from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. And this is really something that we would want to continue pressing as we bring attention to this issue, as we have come from our focus group discussion on the effect of blackouts on businesses. So today we'll find out more about tourism. And it seems like these are things that we normally go through. It occurs almost every day na hindi na natin halos napapansin, tinitiis natin. But we're going to find out more about the issues of our fellow Filipinos in the different islands that are really being impacted in the tourism sector. And we thank you so much for being here this morning so that we can continue to really raise this issue to our government and to those who continue to be able to help us. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you also, Ms. Beng, for being here at sa pagpapaunlak ng ating programa ngayong araw. Gaya ng sabi ni Ms. Beng, magbibigay daan ang FGD o ang study na nilungsan namin, bunga ng FGD, para mapabuti ang mga inisyatiba ng enerhiya sa Pilipinas na makakatulong hindi lamang sa turismo at negosyo ng bansa, kundi pati na rin sa lahat ng consumer. Ang aming pong tourism FGD output ay bunga sa pagtutulungan at pakikinig. At sa dakong ito ng ating programa, nais din namin bigyan ng acknowledgement ang ating DOT Secretary, si Ms. Cristina Garcia Frasco. Maraming salamat po sa pagdalo sa aming FGD launch. Ngayon naman po ay papakita namin sa ating programa ang paglalahad ng aming mga key findings at recommendations. Pero bago po lahat, simulan po natin sa study background and scope ng aming tourism FGD output. So para sa mga katanungan, magkakaroon po tayo ng panel discussion mamaya pagkatapos ng ating diskusyon tungkol sa aming results. So maraming salamat po sa pakikinig at simulan na po natin ang study background and scope ng ating FGD study. So, ang gusto po namin or thesis statement po namin is how do businesses cope with the current energy situation within the Philippines? So part of that is one of the data that we've gathered is that about 74.29% of respondents, so these are the people that we were able to talk with, the people we were able to converse with and gather for FGD outputs, lose about 10,000 to 30,000 pesos per day. So this is just an average amount that we were able to gather. For some localities, they were losing from 5,000 to 100,000 per day, depending on the location or the area. So large businesses, as I've shared here, are losing around 100,000 in a single day of operation. And without electricity, some businesses are forced to stop operations entirely, mainly because their operations are dependent on electricity or power generation. So this requires our businesses within the Philippines, especially in tourism-heavy areas, to implement cost-cutting measures. So what does this mean? Cost-cutting measures looks like reducing our staff, laying off people, cutting down inventory, and or limiting operational hours. So one of the things that we were able to also recognize throughout that FGD across 4 tourism areas is that what is the impact of power outages, blackouts, and brownouts on our tourism sector? And how does it manifest in terms of impact? So we have here actually a quote, and to really highlight how tourism is important to the Philippines, as we already know as Filipinos, but cementing it further, it's the largest generator of well-being and employment in the world. And it employs a lot of Filipinos across the 4 key areas that we were able to do our study output. So what they were able to underscore here is that with the rise of tourism, especially in islands like Siargao, in core tourism areas like Cebu, is that there is a demand for energy, mainly because energy is necessary in providing services and enhancing the visitor experience. So one of that including is accommodations, their food, which is very dependent on how strong their electricity supply is. So here's a snapshot of how crucial tourism is in the Philippines. So it's just a quick rundown because I'm sure a lot of us here have witnessed the key role that tourism plays in the Philippines. So about 8.6% of our country's gross domestic product is dependent on tourism. And when it looks in terms of or when it's converted in Philippine peso, it's 760 billion pesos in terms of revenue from tourist expenditures. So whenever they spend in their tourist areas, whenever they try to purchase something, it also counts towards our tourism expenditure. And about 16.4 million Filipinos are employed because of this industry. And this looks like about 5.9 million people visiting our islands, visiting the places that we've outlined earlier, such as the island garden city of Samal, Puerto Galera in Oriental Mindoro, Cebu, and Siargao in Surigao del Norte. And actually, the Philippines has one of the largest domestic tourism market within the ASEAN region and Timor-Leste. So that's how crucial tourism is for us Filipinos and also for the market that we have. So throughout our FGD outputs, as I've shared earlier, we have 4 key areas that we've underscored, mostly from Southern Luzon, Visayas, and then Mindanao. And we were able to pull in about 43 participants across various sectors of the tourism industry. We have retail, government, food and beverage, hotel, and accommodations. And this ranges in size. So from the first FGD output, we already discussed what are the parameters and size of micro enterprises, small businesses, medium-sized, and large companies. And we also applied it here as we looked into the 43 participants and how they represent the different industries that they have. So our objectives for this FGD output are already shared earlier, but reiterating it back is that we want to have a concrete data or concrete set of statistics with which to inform our local governments, our national government, and other key stakeholders and decision makers on how the energy or power situation in the Philippines directly affects our tourism industry and thereby affects the average Filipino. And also generate statistics that serve as basis for MSME identification or micro, small, and medium enterprises. While also, aside from just collecting data, we're also keen on providing grassroots-based, community-driven recommendations or solutions that will better inform our stakeholders what it is needed at the ground and what they would like our stakeholders to do. So what we did is we did mixed form of methods wherein we did qualitative assessment through FGD or focus group discussions, and then we evaluated the data that was gathered. We have already a structured format, so this has been a format that we've been using since our first FGD regarding economy or businesses, and then we also applied it here in the tourism FGD, but we tweak a few questions to make it more contextualized to our audience or our participants. So in the limitations of our study or in what we are presenting today, we would like to address that we selected the 4 locations based on the number of tourist arrivals, the energy situation based on our social media scans. So you would see in the link to the paper that we will be sharing that there are specific scans that we were able to see on a specific period. So there were more areas that had more complaints, or you would say more visibility on social media because of the power situation compared to others. So baka po maging tanong, bakit hindi kasama ang Baguio? Bakit hindi kasama ang Bohol, etc.? So it's not po that we chose based on preference, but maybe because of the data that we've seen on social media and our community as well with what they've been reporting to our page. So we would also like to reiterate before we proceed that most of the data here, these are self-reported data. So these are from our participants, kung ano po yung sinishare nila during the discussions, and we also do cross-check it after. So for participant demographics, we have about micro enterprises, small businesses, and medium-sized companies and large companies. So just reiterating the data that we've shared before, followed after by the metrics for the FGD area. So as I've shared, there are specific reasons bakit po Siargao, bakit Cebu, bakit Samal, and among these are the reasons that we've chosen. So as we could see here, there were so many mentions of power outage, especially for Siargao during last year. And then there were also mentions here of like how many are the international arrivals compared to the domestic arrivals. So you would see here po, in Samal, Siargao, and Cebu City, halos magkakalapit lang po yung domestic and international arrivals, except for Samal na mas mataas po yung domestic. However, if you would see po Puerto Galera, mas mataas po ang international arrivals, which we've seen po when we were there just last month na mas marami po talaga ang foreign visitors compared to domestic visitors. So here are the peak months of tourism for each place. So for Island Garden City of Samal, it's mainly more active in June and December. So medyo malayo-layo pa po tayo, mga 3 months pa po bago mas maging booming ang kanilang tourism industry. For Siargao, it's happening right now, March, kasi summer season. Of course, there's the surfing season as well. And then November and December. For Cebu, it's January because of Sinulog. Then we have April and December. And finally po, for Puerto Galera, it's more March and April. So what we've noticed there po when we went is that medyo matumal po yung tourism kasi January, February pa siya. Pero they're expecting an influx of visitors once it's March and April. So with regards to key findings po, I'll be passing it po or handing it over to Ms. Beng to share more on the technicalities of what we were able to find and assess.
So thank you so much, Francine. And now that we have a background or an introduction on our FGD output, dadako na po tayo sa key findings per area at sisimulan natin ito sa Island Garden City of Samal. Then we'll go to Siargao, Cebu, and then Puerto Galera. Matapos nito, at para sa kaalaman ng lahat, ang recommendations ng nasabing output ay ipapaliwanag namin conveners para sa mga lokal na pamahalaan, negosyo, at sa national government. So we'll start with Samal. Hindi lang. Tayo na lang ako. Okay, so basically we've also done interviews of our residents of the various places that we went to para naman meron talaga tayong on the ground information from some of our residents. So isa si Dave, who is a member of the Tuk Tuk Drivers Association, at talagang sinasabi nga niya na kulang talaga ang supply ng kuryente, pangit ang serbisyo, at laging nasisira ang mga gamit at appliances ng mga residente. Ito ang hinaing ng Tuk Tuk Drivers Association sa Island Garden City of Samal. And they added na nakakarinig sila ng mga reklamo mula sa mga turista dahil sa brownout na umaabot ng hanggang 6 na oras sa kanilang lalawigan. So here we go. Ang key findings natin. So the average electricity cost of MSMEs, umaabot sila ng 18,000 and average losses nila per day is 27,000. So ito yung kanilang electricity cost. That's how much they spend to pay for their electricity. Pero kung sa mga nawawalang pera nila, umaabot siya ng 27K, and that's per day. So definitely the range of losses, as Francine mentioned, nag-uumpisa siya ng 10,000 to a high of 100,000. And from the brownouts or the blackouts that happened. And these losses are substantial to their electricity cost per month, especially for resorts and hotels. Si Mayor Al David Uy, sinabi din niya na the city had been losing up to 15 million annually in the tourism sector alone due to power issues. So sa kuryente pa lang, 15 million lang nawawala sa kanila taon-taon. 50 million. And this becomes an even more pressing issue with the anticipated demand for electricity from the upcoming Davao-Samal Bridge project. So yung Davao-Samal Bridge project, it's still being constructed. It's actually been ongoing for the last couple of years, and people are excited kasi nga it's going to cut the transportation to Samal from Davao from 30 minutes to mga 5 minutes na lang. But of course, what this also means is that with more people coming into Samal, mas lalong tataas ang kanilang demand for electricity, which currently is already so insufficient. The Northern Davao Electric Cooperative, or Nordeco, has been criticized for its poor service. Currently, there's actually a petition to actually have them replaced already. So business owners report slow response times. Whenever they complain about their blackouts, they either get no response or very slow response to it. There's a lack of accountability na kapag dinadaing nila yung kanilang mga blackouts or mga brownouts, parang nagkikibit-balikat na lang ang EC, and they're also saying na, well, there's really very little we can do currently. And there's no compensation for losses caused by power outages. So yung nawawalang pera ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino sa tourism industry or even the residents, pag nasira ang kanilang appliances, sorry na lang, pasensya na lang tayo. Ganun talaga yan. Usually that's what they hear. And sa laki ng nawawala nilang pera, sa laki ng binabayaran nilang kuryente, hindi naman ito bumabalik sa kanila in any way, shape, or form at this time. So here in the IGACO's or EC services, we'll see that the ratings, the way the residents or the participants in the FGD have actually rated them, karamihan sa mga participants are actually saying na, well, you know, they're still okay. With very generous pa rin yung kanilang pag-rate, where 5 of them are actually saying na, o sige, okay pa rin naman ang performance nila considering the many challenges that we have here in Samal. There's one who really said na, no, it's really bad. Okay, we're really not happy with the services. 2 of them, and then 3 are somehow in the middle. So with 10 being the highest, participants gave the Northern Davao Electric Cooperative an average rating of 2.45. So napaka-baba considering. 2 participants, as we said, rated the Nordeco a dismal 1, while 3 rated it 2, 5 rated it 3, and 1 rated it 4, and no ratings exceeded 4 at all. So Nordeco's strict payment policies have also drawn a lot of anger from the people kasi nga, regardless of how many brownouts or blackouts the individuals suffer or the residents suffer, hindi pa rin sila talaga napapawalan dun sa disconnection. So, we're not able to provide you the good service, but we will still come and disconnect your services when you fail to pay your electric bills in a month. Businesses are questioning the fairness of the cooperative's approach given the unreliable service. And so one of their heart cries is, sana naman meet us halfway. If you're not able to provide really consistent energy or electricity, masyadong maraming blackouts and brownouts, sana naman medyo pagbigyan nyo naman kami kung hindi kami nakakabayad. So at least do not disconnect us right away. So that's one of the things that they're asking. Aside from kung ayaw talaga ninyong i-replace yung mga appliances namin, at least give us that. Huwag kayong disconnect ka agad. So here, we now move to Siargao, which Francine will be discussing.
Thanks, Ms. Beng, for that insightful take on what is happening in Igacos, or the island garden city of Samal. So next up, we have Siargao. I know for a lot of us, you would see it on TikTok po. Very common na po sa Instagram or even on Meta na marami pong vloggers and as well as private individuals sharing about their experience in Siargao. And why not? Ang ganda nga din po talaga ng Siargao for those interested in having a taste of the Philippine experience with the sun and the sea. We have Siargao here. And one of the things po that we would like to highlight is Tanglao, wherein we feature people or the average Filipino po and their experience with and the energy crisis. So, a while ago po, when Ms. Ben was sharing earlier, we have this insight from Tatay Segundino. So, he's a stall vendor. Actually po, may question mark kasi yung anak na po talaga yung stall vendor. And he's helping out, so parang dumayo po siya sa Surigao del Norte. And then, he helps out his daughter sa pagtinda ng mga pagkain dito sa tinatawag nilang AFAM Bridge. So, hindi po yan totoong pangalan ng bridge. Kumbaga, tinawag lang pong AFAM Bridge kasi marami po talagang foreign visitors na nakatambay sa bridge. And sabi niya dito, dapat nilang maasikaso talaga ito upang hindi magtuloy-tuloy ang problema kasi sila ang may kapangyarihan. So, yung pinaka-experience po ni Tatay Segundino ay may times na napuputulan sila ng kuryente, siya at ng anak niya, kasi hindi sila nakakapagbayad on time. And this comes pa po before yung power crisis sa Siargao. And now na nagkaroon ng power crisis, which happened last December, naging mas apparent na mahirap para sa isang average consumer maka-attain ng energy security within their community. So sa Siargao po, here are some key findings that we would like to share with all of you. So the average electricity cost for MSMEs is 55K or 55,000. And if you compare it po sa loss of 42,000 per day, which is an average loss of all the businesses that we were able to survey, meron na lang 13,000 more or less na revenue or kita or yung difference or disparity. So what we were able to notice here is that merong systemic vulnerabilities ang power crisis within Siargao. So allow me to share po a brief experience of what happened when we went there. So when we went there po, so syempre very excited, Siargao po yun. We were so surprised kasi po when we went there, nasa pangatlong araw na po pala ng power crisis or power interruption within Siargao. So we were very unprepared kasi walang kuryente, yung mga accommodations, nagka-cancel na po ng mga booking. And yung prices ng tubig, as someone na sanay po na may immediate access to potable water here in Metro Manila, tumaas po siya from 20 pesos per galon to 60 pesos per gallon in a day. And sa lack of access na yun po ng water, may kumalat na din po na picture of a foreign tourist, ang pinangliligo na lang ay yung galon ng water na meron nila sa bahay dahil halos inaccessible na po yung electricity and water in the area. So what we were also able to notice from grassroots consumers is very alive po sila in terms of like passionately explaining kung ano yung experience nila. Kasi one of the things they highlighted po was their electric cooperative, Siarelco, was they felt that they were very invalidated as consumers. Kasi po tuwing nagrereklamo sila, wala namang naaabot na tulong pagdating sa pag-resolve ng crisis. Or kung hindi man po yun, kapag nagpo-post sila, very common naman po I guess na sa social media po tayo nag-air out ng ating mga concerns kasi doon mas accessible para sa maraming Pilipino ang ating mga electric cooperatives. Ang nangyayari po, nire-remove yung kanilang mga comments sa social media or sa page ng Siarelco. So they feel very invalidated. And when we had the meeting po with the ERC, we found out na this is one of the things they wanted to address. Kasi part ng consumer rights po natin as energy consumers ay dapat na pakikinggan yung mga complaints natin and maging impartial po sila pagdating dito, which is part of their service. So another thing po that we wanted to highlight is unlike the other three areas, one of the things na naging stressor po sa Siargao is ongoing political tension. So there are two political families that are not in agreement right now. This is the Barbers family in Surigao del Norte and then the Matugas clan naman po sa Siargao Island mismo. So because of this ongoing political tension, it's harder for those in Siargao to receive aid from the provincial government and vice versa. So it's harder for them to reconcile on an immediate solution for the island kasi po magkaiba yung political parties that are administering or managing the province and the island itself. So moving forward po, we would also like to share some key findings in terms of satisfaction with their EC or electric cooperative. So In terms of po how they saw their electric cooperative, I've shared earlier nga na may mga complaints with regards they feel invalidated, na natanggal yung kanilang mga comments sa social media, or if not retaliative or punitive yung response ng kanilang electric cooperative. So, regardless of that, medyo strong pa nga po yung kanilang pag-rate ng kanilang electric cooperative. Some have answered that they were nearly satisfied at around 7, and one answered na hindi talaga, or two answered they weren't really satisfied with a rating of 1. However, in terms of average, we had an average of 4.6 with how they rated their electric cooperative. So moving forward, we have Ms. Deng again for Cebu.
So actually, this is where we can see that in spite of the frustration, very generous pa rin talaga ang ating mga member consumer owners, where in spite of all of those lapses in the services, ang taas pa rin nilang mag-rating. Mabait pa rin po talaga sila. Mabait tayo. So here in Cebu naman, our findings are the following. So when we went into Cebu, there weren't so many challenges like what we experienced in Siargao, na we had to transfer hotels 3 times kasi nga naghahanap kami ng hotel na may ilaw o may aircon dahil dun sa brownouts that were happening during that time. In Cebu, it was very consistent, and yun nga, at the height of sinulog pa at that time, the day before. So here we can actually see that in the average electricity cost of large businesses, they actually spend 1.17 million. So that's how much they pay in electric bills. And this is also something where, because Cebu is more progressive, their hotels are usually multiple story buildings talaga. It's understandable that they would really be spending so much in terms of the number of rooms, the capacity that they have, and also yung kailangan nilang energy to pump water up the hotels. So, per day, ang average losses nila is umaabot naman ng 216,000 or 216K. So, compared nga kanina dun sa Siargao, not so much yung makikita natin na sa loss na halos magkalapit na sila. Malaki pa rin ang ability ng Cebu to be able to really somehow meet this particular demand. So for MSMEs naman, ang average electricity cost nila is umaabot ng 160,000 per month. And then also per day, this is where it hits those in the smaller businesses more, because it's almost half of what they actually make and of what they spend in electricity, and it's 82,000 per day. So this is per day compared to what they pay for their energy. So in Cebu, particularly for large businesses, we reported na mataas ang monthly electricity consumption nila. So because of the more technology-driven lifestyle, there's an IT sector also in Cebu. They really need more electricity, and the costs due to the operational needs. So if there's a blackout, the money to run the generators, the diesel that they need to be able to continue operations are very necessary. So ito, minimal naman ang immediate losses na nire-report nila. Long-term concerns include the need for modernization of energy infrastructure. So they've already actually projected that in the next couple of years, as Cebu continues to really grow and become even more and more urbanized, more IT driven, they're going to need more energy, and the current energy that is being set aside for them is just not going to be enough. So here, Cebu benefits from more effective governance structures kasi nga mas coordinated ang LGU and their governor. They really are moving in tandem to be able to respond in a more coordinated manner to their problems in electricity. So they're really dealing with the different like ERC and DOE more proactively compared to Samal na medyo nagkakaroon tayo ng bumps in the road because of the internal struggles that they also have there. So mas progressive ang Cebu, and we can already see that they have more demand, that they are already able to project it in a more objective manner, na nakikita na nila na this is how much energy we're going to need, and this is how deeply right now we are lacking in that particular energy. But yun nga, in terms of the ratings, so as we look at the ratings of the Electric Cooperative of Cebu, again, diba, in spite of that, there's a diverse mix of ECs that are actually servicing Cebu. So ito na naman yung maganda makita natin, na they have Sebeco 1, Sebeco 2, Sebeco 3, and MECO. So there's 4 of them. Unlike in Siargao, na Siarelco lang talaga, in Samal, it's just Nordeco. Ito, they have a variety of electric cooperatives providing them with energy, and they have a distribution utility, which is BECO, and the participants really rated them on an average of a service of 6.75. So Cebu stands apart with the most stable power infrastructure. Among the 4 areas that we visited, though occasional disruptions still impact tourism businesses, sila pa rin talaga ang mas matibay ang kanilang energy sector, where they have a lot of the pipelines being opened by NGCP already. There are also better resource establishments in Cebu, which have begun transitioning to renewable energy. At dahil mainit din nga naman sa Cebu, it's one of their solutions. They actually even have residents who are very proactive, promoting that they have built their own solar sources of energy in their homes. So solar, and then also the battery storage. So very progressive ang Cebu, and even the Cebuanos are already themselves going into the different solutions. And what we also learned when we were there for our focus group discussion, one of our speakers actually from DOT was able to inform everyone about the different changes, improvements in the energy sector. For example, pag sa BIR, meron talagang tax, may binibigay na mga incentives pag nagpapatayo ng solar, and this is something that business owners in Cebu can really take advantage of.